It was a good icebreaker for the native stuff back in the day, when it was a little not as easy to talk about, or even for me to talk about in some ways, because it was just so silly.
Yeah.
And of course, at the time, I didn't think it was terribly offensive. I hope no one took it seriously, but no excuse. But that's where it came from. But then now like I say, some jokes just have a shelf life because of the times, or they just for some reason run out of steam and you move on. So it's funny you say that. Yeah, that was from a while ago.
I'm hearing that you have reverb.
Oh my god, I don't know what I can do. Maybe should I sit closer?
I have literally no idea either, TBH.
I don't. I'm just using my computer, my laptop mic.
Okay. Well,
is there something technical I should be doing?
Well, I think it's been established. I have no idea technically what we're doing.
Computer audio settings. What does that do?
To our loyal fan base, please help. I think Janelle's about to give me some advice, I think.
Well, of course Janelle would be watching.
Happy you said it. That's the thing.
Everyone else, like I said, I'm on my microphone specs right now, and I don't see anything.
Well,
input level.
It's actually sending me a message. I see the dots. She's our only hope. Oh, she says you have to mute something. Like maybe... I have no idea, actually. Don has to mute something. Is what
I can't select the microphone.
Do you have two windows open?
Oh, you know what? Hold on here. How's that? Better?
We'll find out. I guess we have to keep talking. Like, you got to keep talking. So,
okay. Because I did have the window open, the when you send me minutes before the show with all the details about getting in. A lot of prep. A lot of prep goes into this show. Andrew's whiteboard in the background with his guest lineup for the coming month. A lot of work, a lot of advanced work.
No word of a lie. I was on the phone with Georgia Silly since like 6 o'clock trying to get this going. So shout out to George. Okay, I have about 34 questions for you. Okay.
34.
30. No, I'm pontificating.
33 are from Christian Souza, as I recall.
Still reverb. Do you? Oh, she's asking if I have. Do I have two windows open? Huh. Let me take a look. See. I don't know if I close something, will it end the chat? Well, wait a second. I have Facebook. Can I close Facebook or? Okay.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Like. I can.
I closed it.
Oh, okay. Then I'll do that. Can you still? Am I still here? Okay.
It's going to be really annoying if it's just a reverb-laden chat. Our voices are annoying enough in regular life.
Well, yours is. I have a really nice voice. Okay. So we'll wait for negative feedback. In the meantime, how'd you get started in comedy?
This is the test question, right? For the reverb?
Yeah. Although I am curious, as much as I've known you, I don't think I've heard the fun story sober.
I don't know how fun it is. It's I don't know. I bet it's very typical. In fact, I could be wrong. Like a lot of people who do it. I was always a huge fan of comedy. I remember being like a little kid. We lived in a little town of Fort Francis at the time. We bounced around when I was a kid. My dad would bring home comedy records, right? This was like the original vinyl before it made a comeback.
Yeah.
And I remember listening. He'd bring home like Woody Allen, Bill Cosby, who knew at the time, right? Who knew?
Well, Woody Allen as well, right?
There's a theme developing here.
Yeah, the real Don.
And yeah, these good family comics. And but I remember listening, and like the whole family was laughing. So me, my slightly older brother, my parents, my grandmother was laughing, my aunts and uncle, and I just remember thinking, wow, this is pretty cool that someone can get all of us laughing with the same material. And I hadn't even lived much of a life yet, let alone be able to relate to stories about growing up. I mean, I was still just a kid. I had a lot of growing up to do. So it just made me think, this is pretty cool. And just the fact that they were laughing. Like we weren't all crying together, which is also something I think powerful to do through music or art.
Yeah.
But I just thought, hey, everyone's laughing. So it wasn't like I then sort of started trying to develop a sense of humor, but I mean, that's what really interests me in stand-up comedy is like, how do you do this? How do people start doing this? So it was something I always wanted to try. But then fast forward, like when I moved to Ottawa some 20 plus years later, like I never tried it when I was like 17 or 18, probably just as well I didn't.
Yeah.
It was when I moved to Ottawa when I first moved here, didn't know anybody, and thought, well, if I'm ever going to try this, I don't know anyone, so if it goes horrible, I wasn't the type of person who invited the friends I had to come see me the first time I did it. Some people do that, moral support, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking, no, if I tank, I don't want to ever see any of these people again. If I do well, I did well on my own. And it was a good call because I absolutely, completely tanked, but I also kind of got a bit of a rush out of it and thought that was interesting. And I also, the toughest thing for stand-up is very few people start strong. Some do, very few though. Is you've got to get on stage and do it and be terrible in some cases for a long time and be willing to put yourself through that. And some people get better sooner, other people it takes longer. But I was willing to do it, and it was also a way to, I thought at the time I would meet some really cool people outside of the job I was doing at the time, and just people who had other interests. So it all just appealed to me. It really took coming to Ottawa to do it, and good old Howard Wagman was running the club then, the Howard we all know and love to this day. So he's always had a good eye and ear for comedy. And that's really what started, just an interest in how do you do this, and what's involved. It's a mysterious craft.
How long did it take you from your first set to like where it was like not embarrassing anymore? If your first one was terrible.
I'm still there, Andrew, on any given night, right? But
yeah.
I don't know, probably less than a year, which is not that much time, but can sound like a lot if you're just starting out. But you maybe Waffet talked about this. When we started, get ready to hear a lot of that in this. When we started, or when I got going,
that's the whole point.
There was one club. There was Yuck Yucks Wednesday night. You would call in each week and try to get in the queue of calls. And if you didn't get on, you didn't get on that week. There was no side rooms. There was no absolute comedy. Two guys started running a side room like months after I started. So it was a lot slower process. There just wasn't as much stage time. That's why I think we got so many good young comics in the city right now. There's just so much stage time you can get, and that's what it's all about. It's all about stage time.
Well, hey, about the side room they started, what was the opinion of that? Was it like a hot button issue, or was it a fun?
No, it actually was. It was on Bank Street. It was called the Blue Moon Cafe at the time.
I've heard of that.
There was no, I don't recall ever getting any blowback from Howard. I think he thought, hey, if these young guys, we weren't booking the pros. There was no money to book pros to come down and compete against Yucks.
Right.
So I don't think it was seen as any competition. And it made us better, but it was the classic, it was a restaurant, like maybe kind of like, Meow That's Hot. Big picture window was your best job.
Right.
So you get people walking by in the background while you're on stage, doing that kinds of stuff, and buses pull up. And then one time, Alan Maliha, now Patrick Maliha in Vancouver, was emceeing, and he was kind of like a do anything kind of to keep the show going, keep the crowd into it. Ran out with the microphone onto the bus. It was a cordless mic, and said, "Hey, come on into the show." And the bus driver closed the doors and took off. And everyone saw this, and give him about 5 minutes, he comes running back into the restaurant, and everyone, big round of applause. Yay, our hero is back. So it was just a great room. If you like Houston as well, okay, it's not just a perfect room with a nice elevated stage and lights perfectly positioned and, a perfect sound system. Again, you get used to on the road gigs, but with all the side rooms now too, you kind of get used to not having sort of all the amenities you're used to.
Yeah.
I remember seeing guys started coming into the club, like the veterans, who would they didn't think twice about what the audience looked like or how it seemed, because hey, there's a stage, there's lights, there's a good sound system. I'm good. I just came off a month on the road, so this is beautiful.
It could be worse. Okay, I'm getting a lot of messages that our audio is still terrible. Hold on. cut the face
I don't have
out.
an external mic, but I've been zooming a lot these days, and I haven't had any complaints.
Me too. Maybe I need. Okay, stand by. This is great content.
All right.
Okay, take it away.
All right. So what do you guys want to know about Andrew? I'm not even. I don't even know the guy. Is he funny? Is this podcast a hit?
Okay, I'm gonna try using headphones.
And we're back.
Okay.
I use headphones. I can grab headphones.
Yeah, let's both try. Maybe that'll. Okay.
Or as the kids call them, earbuds.
Nobody says that, Don. When's the last time you've spoken to a kid? So I'd like to.
Well, I understand we're gonna get lit on this thing. Is that right?
That is facts. We will.
It's gonna be epic.
Okay, hold on 1 second. This is going well. Hey.
All right. Better? Still getting reports?
The live stream on Facebook.
Hold on, I closed Facebook.
Oh,
Is that Callbars?
It's George, my tech guy.
Oh, George.
I'm not here. I'm not.
Oh. Okay, he hung up. Okay. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
And okay. Well, this might be it. Okay, I'll ask you another question. Okay, I do care about these questions, just so you know. Okay. Oh, okay. So I found this video of you on YouTube, right? I think it was called My Talk Show. Are you frozen? Can you hear me?
You're frozen.
No, you're frozen.
I can hear you, but you're frozen. Am I frozen on your screen?
No, actually, you're fine. Am I still frozen? Oh my god.
Oh, there you go.
Oh.
You're kind of jerky, but you're just kind of jerky, right?
That's just who I am as a person.
Exactly. Okay, it's better now.
Okay. Okay, I hear the audio is better. Now, the only problem is I have a terrible internet connection, so we'll just do what we can.
We'll do what we can.
Okay.
And don't worry, of the 13 people watching, 11 are gone already anyway, so it won't matter.
Yeah.
That intro did it.
Oh, we'll win them back next week. Okay.
Which is good. It's a discerning audience that's left. It's the ones who really want to be here. That's still here, so that's important.
Or they're worse at tech than us and they don't know how to get out of it.
Yeah.
I've had that happen. Okay, so yes, I gave you a little internet search. Do you know, I look up Don Kelly comedy. I just get a thing on Google saying Yuck Yucks is closed. So I think that's fun. But specifically, okay, so I looked you up and there was this talk show called My Talk Show. I think, you know what I mean?
No, My Talk Show.
It's the YouTube channel, and it looked like the show was called like My Talk Show, and it's like a talk show in Toronto, and you did comedy there.
It's not
Oh boy.
Is it the Mike Bullard show?
Probably, yeah.
There you go.
And
I hear that comes up.
You have a little mullet that comes up. I thought that was what I thought was really fun from it was you got I watched the first 3 minutes and you got 7 applause breaks.
It was a good performance. I was happy with it, and it was connected to. I got a CBC Comics probably earlier than I should have in the amount of time I was doing comedy. This was CBC had its own half-hour stand-up show. Joe Baudelaire, rest his soul, was the producer. He gave me the 100th episode, which was that would have been about 3 or 4 seasons in, so the show had already been around a while. But he did some promo around the 100th episode. So that I got Mike Bullard show. He was also a well-known Yucks Comics at the time. Rick Curry, who went on to write for the Mercer Report, was one of a number of guys actually who wrote for Bullard went on to write for the Mercer Report. But I got a spot on Bullard in Toronto, and I know some people say that comes up when you search on me. I'm a much younger guy. You can still see the hope in my eyes. It's
you look better now. You look thinner now, and you have a way better haircut now. You.
All right, well, that's the self-isolation doing that. There you go.
It's for the best. Same.
It was a while ago, man. The styles were different.
Yeah, you don't say.
But yeah, no, it's fun. But I'm the worst self promoter. Don't ask me anything about self. I don't post like clips. I don't even have forget a website. I don't even have my own Facebook page, which I know a lot of people do. I got my Facebook page, like my page, but not a Don Kelly comedy page or anything like that. So I'm just the worst at it. I've never been good at it.
Well, would that even be necessary? Like, who's contacting you to do shows? Like, I don't know. I think it's a real vanity project to have your own page.
Well, it's always funny to me on Facebook when you'll get someone you've never heard of, Joe Schlabotnik wants to be your friend. So it doesn't look too spammy, so you click accept and then immediately has invited you to like Joe Schlabotnik comedian page. Oh, okay, I see why you sent me this.
Yeah. I think a great rule of thumb is if you're adding people on Facebook, you don't need your own Facebook page.
That's right. And for me, the thing is, with the other stuff I do, I'm often busy enough that I'll just end up saying no more than I'll be saying yes anyway. So it's not sort of like, I don't feel I'm in demand. I just don't feel like I need to create anything that I'm just going to say, no, I can't travel for 3 days to do this show or whatever. So, so why would I do that? But even like posting clips, I should really get a new video or something like that.
Yeah.
Update my bio.
Well, you have a lot online. If you look, it's really cool. How about this? This is an improv question. That's how cool I am. How many television sets have you done? Do you know?
Television sets? No, I don't know offhand. I mean, along with the early ones, Bullard. Well, it's just Bullard Comics and Comedy Now. So those were all like one. That was one appearance. There are people who've done more than one comedy now, so that happens. But then there's things like The Debaters briefly had a television show, so I did a few episodes of that. Then there's the Winnipeg Comedy Festival where they televise the galas, so I've done some of those. And then there's been specials like through CBC and others that I've done. So I've probably got them all written down somewhere, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. And I think it would be kind of lame to a certain degree if you could. I've done 17 television shows and 6 appearances on specials and whatever. So, yeah, it's not. I don't take it for granted. I mean, every single one of the ones I have done, which again, it's not like hundreds. I've just felt really lucky and fortunate, and you wonder why I'm even on those sometimes. So. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad to be able to have done them. It's really lucky.
Yeah, you seem to do well on all the ones I've seen. You get applause breaks. Okay, so on that talk show, they introduced you saying you won the 1996 Yuck Yucks Funniest New Comic. What was that? Was that like the Yuck Yucks New Talent Showcase?
It was the New Talent Showcase. It used to be, what do they call it now? The
Mike McDonald.
The Mike McDonald. That's right. I should really know that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was the one. It was the annual and similar format, although I don't think as many people advanced through each round, but there weren't as many people doing it back then. It certainly didn't take a whole summer to get the thing done. Wafik won it 1 year.
Wow.
It was funny. I was doing, when we're going back like a couple years now, but not a long ways. I was doing a club. I don't know. It wasn't Ottawa. It was another club. And somehow, this is again me being the worst self-promoter yet. It wasn't my fault, but they used that as the blurb about me performing at the club. like we're talking like 4 years ago.
Right.
Don Kelly was the 1996 winner of the funniest punk in Ottawa. Thanks. Thank you. That was my blurb. So we caught that one, which was nice, but it was up there for a few days. But yeah, no, it was fun. And it was funny because at the time, rightly so, like it was exciting, like you really did, it meant something. You felt good to win it. And in those days you went to Toronto for the big national finals, the winner of every club from Yuck. Hamilton, Toronto, Darren Frost was in there with me. We placed in the top 3, Darren and I, and another comic named Kadar, who I don't think is still doing Comedy 1. He was the Toronto guy. But it was really fun. Yeah, and free trip to Toronto, free spot at the club. It was a good time.
How'd you do in the national one?
This is going to sound terrible. I thought I won. I genuinely thought I had the set of the night.
Yeah.
But me, Darren, and Kadar all had good sets. But again, I thought I wouldn't say that. Believe me, I'll be honest when I think I've done terrible or it's gone mediocre or okay or whatever. I really did think it was well, one of the best sets I've had and a good set of the night. But whatever, the guy who won got a cruise, so would have been nice. But there you go. Me and Darren got our Darren Frost on his Facebook page has. Within the last month, posted the picture of the three of us on stage.
Oh.
He found it somewhere. He keeps everything. Like, it's great. He's a trip down memory lane.
Was it the Toronto guy that won?
Yeah, Kadar. Yeah, Kadar.
And it was a cruise. Like, he didn't win any stage time or cash.
I don't think he. Oh, I think he might have won some cash too.
Okay.
Yeah, not like.
Not $1,000.
I don't think it was that much. No,
Okay.
no. But a cruise, hey, how much is that worth, right? Well, not anymore.
On the environment.
Wants to go on cruises
It's-
now.
I've always thought cruises were scary. Murder's like legal in a cruise ship.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so many people go missing every year. That's underreported.
Yeah. Okay, that's our PSA.
So there you go.
Okay, I had you kind of, I don't know. Okay, so what was your like first?
I meander in my answers, so sorry, man.
No,
I'm
this is
taking
what
out the
I'm
game.
here for. I'm here for it. It's just you kind of answered some of my questions, but I want to know what you think your first, like, okay, so we knew, like, what was the first time you felt like you were successful? Like your first where you were like, you could do it almost professionally, or like, you know what I mean?
Well, in the old Wednesdays, which was the new talent night,
Yeah.
amateur night, basically, it wasn't like the Tuesdays now, which are sort of more the up and comers. It was just Wednesday, so it was a mix of the up and comers as well as first timers. They always did a feature spot like they do now, but you got paid.
Hey,
You got $15, $15 for the spot, and so you were getting a check for doing comedy.
right.
So there was a guy named George Regan who used to work, he used to manage there in the evenings. He used to watch the Wednesdays and sort of, watch who was coming up, who was doing good, who needed work. He would, if you wanted, when you got that first check, he would write, on the little item line, what it's for, he would write for comedic services if you wanted him to do that. Because some people would actually get it framed.
Yeah.
I remember Rick Kalbar's first time, immediately endorsed the back, signed it, and bought a pitcher of beer with him. So there's no sentimentality around it.
Damn, that's so Rick.
Well, I did, but it wasn't so much the first time I did that, but I did a night where I had some new material and I was doing the feature spot, and it wasn't so much I thought I could be a professional at it. I just thought that went well, and I'm starting to figure out, who I am up here. That's because that was the thing for me. Some people go up if they've got, some of them have an acting background, some just have a strong personality and point of view and are already getting material that kind of fits that point of view. I didn't really know who I was up there. So it took me a while just to figure out who the heck am I and what do I want to talk about and what's my voice, right? They always say. I had to learn all of that on stage. So it took a while. And so when I started to figure that out, I at least felt, okay, I kind of know who I am up there. But one thing I love about comedy is the minute you feel, okay, I got a handle on this. Okay, I see how this works. The comedy gods will smote you and they'll give you the worst gig where there's nothing you can do, or you're just not right for the show, or you're just off, and it just keeps you humble, which is good, I think. You just realize you always got to keep learning and doing, and there's always going to be those shows out there. So, got to make you work harder.
When is the last time you think you bombed? Like, were you at a
Well,
bad
I've
set?
had really I've had bad sets in within the last year. Obviously, I haven't done it in a few weeks or a couple months like a lot of us, but yeah, because part of it will be, contrary to popular belief, I do work on new material, so I will go out.
I do not believe you.
I will go out to some rooms
Yeah.
and have a lot of new material. I was working on a set I was going to do for the Winnipeg Comedy Festival, and I was on at the Wednesday. I think it was a Wednesday or Tuesday at Yucks, and it didn't go well. I mean, I stuck with it because I wanted to see what is worth keeping and what isn't, but it did not go well. Like, you're kind of like, people would be like, yeah, that's the weak spot of the show. Glad he's done, but you got to do it.
Yeah.
You gotta.
So are you scheduled for like the next Winnipeg Comedy Festival?
No, I haven't. I didn't submit or anything, and I haven't. I know most of the folks involved. I've done it a lot, and it, by the way, is a fantastic festival.
Oh, then I'll do it. You're right.
Yeah, there you go.
You convinced
should
me.
Submit. You should submit, and what's great is, it's not always great from an audience standpoint, but they do themed galas.
Right.
Not just, Andrew, come on and do your best 8 minutes you have right now or whatever. It's here's the theme and you got to write to that theme. So in some ways, there's some acts that are on there that I just wish I was watching them do their best stuff because I really enjoy their stuff. But on the other hand, it really opens it up. Like you could be fairly new and have a really good 8 minutes on something that fits, and boom, you can get a spot on there. It's not just who do we know who's been doing it the most and has the best credits and all that. So it's in some ways it's an opportunity for newer folks.
You're right. It kind of
like a big festival.
Kind of levels the playing field as who can just like write this the best.
Yeah, that's right. And again, you might have a good 4 to 5 minutes, or maybe even 8, what they need on that just happens to be on that theme. Or you can take your 5 as your core and then fill it out a little bit. And and you can like look at getting a spot, and the galas are televised, so it's great. You see some newer folks on there, and of course some stalwarts as there should be. But it's and they just treat you so well. I mean, Lara Ray is no longer officially involved, but that's someone who was a comic, so knows what comics enjoy, and it's just a really entertaining, fun festival. At least the last time I did it anyways, a few years ago. So it's a good one.
And you don't just have like a file of all of your television clips somewhere lying around.
No, I've got them. I could in the filing cabinet behind me.
Yeah.
I could pull the VHS cassette of my comics that I just referred to.
Right.
It's a VHS cassette, right? Not a CD.
Wait, what's
streaming?
What's a VHS cassette? Do you like a tape?
Ask your folks. It's a videotape. My comedy now is on CD, so you can see the progression.
Right. Okay, that's fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm a little out of order, but do you remember, like, for your first set, do you remember any of your material? Like, specifically, like, what was the first joke you said on stage? Do you remember that?
The very first, that is a good question. Our friend Christina Walkinshaw came back in town, and we did kind of a reunion show at the Lieutenant's Pump, the Sunday show that Jen Grant, who started a little while after me, and we all wanted to do some of our older material we were doing at that time, to which I, of course, said, not a problem.
Still doing it.
It was on the list anyway. Don't worry about it.
Right.
Not going to be an issue. No change of plan. But so I did, but I'm trying to remember the very first thing I said on stage. It's funny. I'm trying to remember a bit that I might have done. Maybe as we go along, I'll remember. I don't think, like, to be fair, even for me, I don't think I'm doing any of it now. So, yeah.
I hope not. When was that?
That's funny.
Was that 95? Sorry.
It was a little bit later, but it's funny. Just it makes me realize, there are times where I'll remember bits that were a part of the act. Not necessarily a go-to, but like these were like tried and true bits that were in the act that someone will mention and you forgot, and that like I couldn't do it for you now. Like I kind of forget, or I'll remember. Oh yeah, I used to have a bit about this that used to work a lot. And then I don't remember it. And I bet if I might have some of my old set lists somewhere. I'm not too sure, but there's sometimes there'll be bits that just, some of these guys who turn over a lot of material. It's like, hey, you don't do that AAA poser anymore. Oh yeah, right, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, just whatever. I got a new thing. Okay. So yeah, it's funny how these things that were, basically repeated 100 times are now just delete file.
Yeah. So you don't have, like, do you have the notebooks you started with, or did you start with using a notebook? Like, how'd you write down your?
I did, because I've always found it easier. Everyone's got their own process.
Yeah.
I always found it easier to write it out, like it, say in the way I would say it, not just sort of write it out like a essay I'm going to do.
Yeah.
But I wanted to know how I was going to say it, and then from there work on it and hone it and refine it. There are some comics who do the opposite. They go up with kind of the idea and this line I want to work in, and then they'll just say it, and then they work it out. They hit the side rooms or even on stage, whatever, and they work out. Okay, here's this has a better rhythm to it. I've always kind of wanted to know how I was going to say it first. And then work from there, as opposed to how's the best way I can sort of phrase this. And again, you may still find different ways to deliver it, but I've I don't know. I've done a lot of writing, not just comedy, like throughout my life. So I think that's kind of just the way my brain works, And it does work. Like if you see the way I perform isn't kind of manic oh, he's all over and he's running around and now he's doing this imitation and then he's over here. Like, so it, with nothing wrong with that. So I'm just saying for me, it's always been more sort of stand and deliver. And so that's why I think I process it better from a written.
Yeah. You always look prepared.
Yeah. And it's like what works for you, right?
Right.
What's your approach? And that's what you got to go with.
I heard people, I think it was Adrian Crunk, that he said, I just remember when I started comedy, somebody was talking to him, and he said he went to his first notebook he ever had, and he's been like pulling material from there. And I always thought that was cool, and now I've been doing stand-up long enough that I went back to my first notebook, and it's so bad. It's unusable.
Oh, I had a lot of dirty stuff. I mean, I can still do some dirty, but I mean, it wasn't like filthy, horrible, gross. I mean, I've never sort of like, done that. But yeah, like it was a lot of stuff you start doing when you're starting out, like sex.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I would never talk about sex on stage. That'd be gross, Don. Before I forget, I was just reminded, my friend, she didn't want me to tell you, but we talk on the phone. She heard your shawarma joke. You know, where you compare.
Oh yeah.
She said it's the best joke she's ever heard. She's like a comedian in the city. And she said it's the greatest joke she's ever heard, and she refers to it too frequently. Actually, all the time. Just so you know.
Tell her to stop stealing my stuff. No, I'm kidding. That's great. That's really good to hear.
Yes.
I actually, well, first of all, that's great to hear, because that's one of those jokes. Some jokes, you'd think this would be true of all jokes, but I find some jokes like I really enjoy doing. Like, it's not that I don't enjoy the other ones, but there's just some I just like delivering them, and I've also seen comics where I think that looks like such a fun joke to deliver.
Yeah.
I wish I could deliver that joke. So that's just one of those ones. Yeah, it's kind of fun to deliver. So yeah.
We actually did a writing exercise where we wrote out your joke, and we just analyzed it, and it just seems like the perfect joke. It looks like it'd be fun to say. So once you pass on, knock on wood, I will be doing it.
Oh, my material dies with me, believe me. So you guys kind of diagram it like a geometry thing and all that, and parentheses. And
yeah. Like we really used a full page of paper as to why this worked so well, and have tried to emulate it with our own jokes, but not yet.
Well, here's something interesting.
Go on.
It's an interesting writing exercise. It can be dangerous, and I'll tell you why. Okay, so I'm not a big fan of the Guess Who or BTO. I'm Canadian. That's probably illegal to say that, but Bachman Turner
What's
Overdrive.
What's the Guess Who? Sorry, I don't know.
Yeah, Burton Cummings and Bachman Turner Overdrive is Taking Care of Business. You know that song.
Oh, Taking Care of Business. Yeah, because we're gay.
It's an oldie.
Yes.
It's an oldie. Anyways, I say that because I saw this. I think it was probably CBC. This interview with Randy Bachman, where he said, if you're having trouble writing a song, and love him or hate him, the guy's written a lot of hits.
Yep.
He said, think of a song you like, and don't repeat it or duplicate it, but just fool around with the chords and put them in different orders and see what you come up with. He goes, it's a way to fight writer's block. And I thought, you can do that with jokes. If you see a joke you really like and you like the construction, play with it. But I say it's dangerous because you don't want to just, I'm going to say black where he said white and then just move this, because then you're just basically ripping off, you can rip off a joke without doing the exact same joke. You're basically just rewriting someone else's joke with a slightly different premise and a slightly different part. It's the same thing. But I've heard jokes I really thought, okay, exactly what you said. How did that joke work? And can I write a joke like that is not just
like that
duplicating or repeating what that person said? Like whether there's a certain way to get to the twist or bring it in. And it doesn't always work, but it's just sometimes it's interesting when you hear a joke you like and just think, that's an interesting construction. And again, you don't want to mimic the construction and just copy it, but there's ways to just fool around with the chords, right? And the rhythm and the music, and see if you can shuffle it. Nothing may come of it, but if you ever stuck writing, something to work on anyways, it might point you in another direction or give you another angle on something.
Yeah, I've been doing that the last few weeks. Martha Chavez, she passed on a joke workbook, and the first exercise is just finding 25 jokes in stand-up that you really like, and then writing them out, then writing why you like them. So really writing out the jokes you like, you really realize what I think is actually funny, which I wish I had tried doing 7 years ago, really.
Yeah, well, that's why, there's some books out there, like Bob Hope's old joke writer, which, probably the least hip thing in the world to say, but John Vorhaus, I think you say it, wrote a book called The Comic Toolbox. Now, most folks wouldn't say, oh, I want to write like Bob Hope jokes, but the book is full of interesting writing exercise.
Yeah.
And that's where it can be helpful, whether or not you ultimately want to take the advice about how to get to the joke part. But because I find, for me, it's easier if someone gives me a topic. I'm not saying it'll turn out good, but for me, just plucking ideas out of the air is the toughest, or staring at that blank, page in real life or on your computer screen and just, okay, what am I going to write about? So sometimes just getting something to spark just to get you started helps.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not going to make you tell me about Mitch Hedberg again. You've told me I think 7 times. And I just recently listened to your podcast with Daniel Araya.
Oh yeah.
But okay. My point is,
so you learned a lot about First Nations issues, because I went in ready to talk about comedy.
You know what was so funny about that is I listened to that when I lived in Toronto. I was really homesick, and I was just I was just listening to Daniel's voice because it reminded me of home. But that it sounded like he had no idea of what happened to First Nations people, and just to be able to listen to his reaction, with the enthusiasm, kind of I don't know if enthusiasm, but he was really learning about history for the first time. I think it's really funny. But no,
he forgot to ask questions on occasion.
I noticed.
Oh man, wow! When they came in and wow, yeah.
He's great.
I love Daniel, man. I love Daniel.
Did you? We won't talk about Daniel Araya too much longer because it makes my acne. Just it stresses me out to think about him. But did you ever listen to when he interviewed Daryl Lennox?
No, I didn't hear that.
It was the most tense conversation. It just sounded like the entire time. And Daniel even at one point he's just like, "Are you mad?" Because it just sounded so tense. But I gather he's just kind of a serious guy.
Yeah, and he's got that style, man, that he delivers. He makes you listen to him.
He does. He's really cool.
He brings you in.
But my initial point. What's your I gather you've probably opened for a few comics you're really excited about. What was the coolest thing in your opinion?
Well, it probably is the Mitch Hedberg thing, okay. Because of course, we all know he's gone now, so there won't be anyone opening for him anymore. And what was really cool for me was I was a huge fan at the time. Now, he wasn't brand new. I'd already seen him on Letterman. That's how I heard about him. But he'd done his first 1 or 2 Letterman performances, where, of course, just blew everyone away. This whole new voice and sensibility and style, and you never knew what he was going to say or his take on things, and just such a tremendous writer. So when I heard he was coming through, because he was on his way to Just for Laughs, where he had a breakthrough performance at Just for Laughs, he was basically doing what a lot of comics do, American or Canadian, doing a tour of yachts on the way to Montreal. So just a whole bunch of tune-up shows, get a bunch of weekends worth of work as you head in. And so when I heard he was coming through, I lobbied Howard hard to get me on that show, because he was just going to sort of have, okay, Mitch is all you need for a show. Yeah. I don't need to worry about bringing in a big MC, even though Alan Park was the MC, who's great. He was, and Howard hired a bass player to play behind him, because his very first live recording, Strategic Grill Locations, has that bass in the background. Yeah. So when I heard he was coming in, I said, you got to put me on shows. Because I was just going to have, Alan and maybe just someone local, someone cheap. And not that I was offensive. And that'd be the show. I said, I just really pushed. And so he put me on. And Tracy McDonald, who was also around at the time, we both did spots.
She got a shout out Talking with Wafik. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Tracy, 2-time Star Search winner, $100,000 each time. There
really?
You go. Canadian, yeah.
Woo.
She won Star Search once, got $100,000. They brought her back for the Battle of the Champions. She won another $100,000. So
that's crazy.
And man, if you listen to her stuff, she is, and this is why she could win Star Search aside from being tremendously funny, is her stuff is so tight. It's so economical. She's not a one-liner, bada bing, boom, hey, boop. But her stuff, every word is there for a reason, and it's precise and it's concise. So on Star Search, where you get 90 seconds, he can get 8 to 10 quality jokes in there. I'm building to my punchline at 90 seconds.
Yeah.
Like I'm wordy, you know? And again, but it doesn't come off as like Ricochet, rat-a-tat-tat old school. So you want to see like someone who's a really good writer. Yeah, Tracy's on there. So we worked together that weekend. So there I am working with someone who is still new, like still fresh, but also established and just on their way to the big time. So to work that weekend was fantastic. I still have, I can run and grab it. Probably take me a bit to find it. He was selling Strategic Grill Locations, his first CD, out of the trunk of his car. So it's not what you see in stores now. His partner at the time, Lynn Shawcroft, who was a Toronto comic, drew kind of a cartoon caricature of Mitch. And it's in that, that little thin CD packaging, kind of the cheaper packaging. It's not like actually like, for liner notes. And I got him to sign it to me and everything. He just gave it to me. And so that's obviously still something I'm really happy to have had, and an experience I'm happy to have done. So that was one of the that was what to me one of the most, when I look back or you're looking for highlights, that's on the highlight reel for sure.
I'm
not saying I did great all weekend, but boy, what a treat.
I'd like to see that CD actually. I didn't realize it was like a different package. That's really cool, like the hand drawn.
Next, let me know. I mean, I can try to find it, but it's in with the CDs. It's not in alphabetical order. But next time we're working together in a room, let me know or remind me, and all.
I don't work, but I'll let you know next time I need to drive home.
I'll vouch for you. I'll vouch for you next time they're doing Eddie's.
Thought you were gonna.
I know. Okay. I know people who know people.
You know people who know people. Am I the person that knows Janelle? Because I know Janelle.
I know Janelle. We're cousins, man.
Is that real?
No, we're native though, and we're all cousins. Okay. We always say my cousin.
I think it's funny that the friend of mine you met at that one show, like my best friend is Indigenous, or.
That's what they all say. Here comes something really racist now, everybody.
As soon as I say
they should stop relying on the government.
No, I just thought it was funny that I'm meeting all the, like when I was getting into comedy, like meeting different headliners I thought was really cool. Like I'd ask him if he knew Wafik or Jim McNally, but he knew Don Kelly. And so it is a little racist actually, but but I'm allowed to say it because I do have an Indigenous friend.
And also because you've done the Got Land shows.
A couple times. Well, you weren't at the second.
Pass.
You weren't at the
Ottawa U, was it or something?
It was it was Ottawa U. Boy, they weren't happy to see me, I tell you. It feels so funny to have a terrible set for 6 minutes and still make probably the second or third most amount of money I've ever made. It felt very inappropriate to make money and have a bad time. Like nobody was happy. Anyways, this kind of transitions nicely, kind of, into my other question. Do you have like aside from me, we exclude me because I figure I'll be your first answer, but like a favorite like newer comic in the city, a favorite like younger comic, a couple that you really like to see?
Well, I'll give an honest but kind of generic answer is, I don't get out to the side rooms enough. Like unless I'm on the show, and it's not an ego thing. It's just sort of like, I gotta get up tomorrow and whatever. So, but I do try to get out there and I do try to do spots. But the problem is I don't get out enough. So there's a lot of people I'm not seeing.
Right.
When I MC the Wednesday nights at the club, they're not all new. Some are, but there's names on there. Like I just don't like it used to be, I would recognize 90% of the names and maybe a couple new ones. So so the people I look at as new may not even be that new anymore. So, I mean, there are people like yourself. KB Harwood, I find really entertaining, and I like her style and I like her sensibility and very funny.
Yeah.
So there's people like that. But then again, like I say, is she still considered new? I mean, I know she's not first generation at this point, and but there's probably people just starting out that I'm not seeing, and so that's my problem. Yeah, but when I do go to a show or when I MC like the Wednesday or Tuesday or whatever, I just see so many good younger comics in this scene. Like it's really who are doing interesting things, I find. And whenever I say that I'm not saying that at the exclusion of being funny. I mean, I wouldn't say that when I did think was funny, but I just think there's so many folks like, I haven't seen this person before, and that's really entertaining,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So there are a lot. I mean, if I throw out too many names, I'm gonna throw it wrong, I'm going to leave someone out who's going to occur to me after this, and I'll hate myself, And then there's other people too, like David Brennan, who's not new. I mean, he's done this, but he's newer to Ottawa, but he's far from, I just started, and that's not taking anything away, but like he cracks me up, just his style.
He's like the best. Second to you, of course.
Oh, there.
Hey.
So no, it's nice. It would be nice to get out a lot more, and and again, I don't think it's any coincidence that there's so many rooms, as well as there's so many ways to find out about comedy and learn about it and figure out what you're doing these days as well. So that's, again, not taking anything away from people who put the work in, but yeah.
Did you ever think about starting your own like side room?
No, it's a lot of work. Yeah, I think it would be a lot of work. I mean, to do it well, anyways. I mean, the whole sense. Well, I mean, the whole sense. I mean, there's some folks who start one, put up a Facebook notice, and this is not a shot at anyone out there, and assume promotion's done, and then, hey, why is my room? And then, of course, the first time or two, you can get a really good crowd because you can lean on all your friends and their friends of friends and put their friends on the show if they're interested in that kind of thing. But to really sustain it, I think, is a lot of work. And then I think there's some folks are good at one part, like the promotion or the hustling. Others may not be good as that, but they know how to put a lineup together, because I've been to some shows, no names mentioned, where it's clearly not a lot of thought went into the lineup.
Yeah.
And that can be pretty key for a show, but that also means knowing the scene. Maybe they didn't know the scene as well. I don't know.
I think that's hard to talk to somebody about, like, when you see their lineup, you don't think it's... Because you don't want to just say, hey, you shouldn't put this guy there or that guy,
Yeah. Well, you feel like you're slamming the axe too. Like, yeah, you should, and you don't want to,
Feels very
some
rude.
people love doing that, but it does feel kind of rude. Exactly.
And, like, it's fun to do when you know you're doing it, but when you're trying to be helpful, you don't want to come off as, this guy can't open a show. You don't want to be a jerk. Okay, so I thought was interesting. Why don't you have a comedy album?
Good question.
I know.
And you know what? I was thinking I would actually like to record all the stuff I think worth recording, which would not be a long album. Once all this subsides, start planning for it. Maybe something, I was going to say the summer, but who knows where we'll be, right? I mean, hopefully we'll be reopening. But yeah, I was thinking that because I just thought, not because I think, this must be heard. It's almost more for me to like, hey, you know what? At one time in the history of Earth, this material existed, and just document it and get it down. And whether I wouldn't see it as something I would then like promote heavily and start selling or whatever like that. I just, I don't think I should get it down. And of course, send it off to Sirius XM these days, where you could, sort of hopefully they'll play some of it or a bit of it once, maybe, who knows.
People can make some real money off of that, eh? I've heard.
Oh yeah, I know people who when they wanted to change the format there, and you saw the outrage. I mean, there was the whole sense of like being true to their mandate of supporting Canadian comedy as a craft, but also people rely on that. I mean, it's a new way to actually support yourself as a comedian, and it's people. I mean, it's if you can, you get your royalties on that, and that can be a good supplement to your income. And not everyone's making a lot, but you want to be able to make a living if you can.
Okay, I'll make myself available for when you record your album to open. This is...
All right.
It's funny if you don't say anything.
Whoops. You'll hear from my people, I understand.
Thank you. Is your people Janelle?
And by my people, I mean Indigenous people.
Okay, yeah, I knew we were on the same.
What's funny? I haven't even thought about who would you get to MC and do a spot, and you don't want too many spots in front of you. You don't want the show going too long, but you also want folks.
That's the problem. Okay.
Oh, I was just going to say, this is not a shot to you or anything. Of course, I'd have to have Wafik on the show. I mean, he was started just ahead of me, and we'd been together a long time.
That's actually an interesting point. I'll withhold my statement and present to you a question that I did ask Wafik last week, was if you could put together your own comedy tour of any comic in the world, living, like past, present, you can have 4 comics, excluding yourself. Who would you have? Including the MC and like headliner.
Okay, so where am I on the show? Because if I'm closing, I ain't putting the best comics in the world ahead of me.
You can choose where you are. You get full control.
Maybe I MC the show because
Okay.
then I'm just sort of keeping things. I don't know. Some of the best live performances I've ever seen. These aren't necessarily like sort of like, and they're not necessarily like the latest cutting edge folks. But I remember this is it. I wasn't performing, so it wasn't quite the same as Mitch Hedberg. But this is a guy I saw twice on Letterman who blew me away. My brother lives in Atlanta. This goes back like we're more than 10 years probably. Brian Regan was at Punchlines in Atlanta. And I thought, if I can see this guy live, I got to make the effort. I get to see my brother and hang out with him and his wife and everything. So the shows are almost sold out. We've got a Sunday show, and I'm on vacay. Doesn't matter to me if it's a Sunday. I can still go out. But that is, to this day, one of the most explosive, funniest shows I have ever seen live in a room. And it was in a club. I mean, I love these in like bands like I got to see like Husker Du and Guided by Voices and Buffalo Tom in clubs. That's what I loved. Like, it's not why I love the bands, but I thought, hey, I'm not going to be stuck in a stadium way up in in that nosebleed city. You can see them up close and personal. So to see Brian Regan in a club, not like a big theater or let alone some of these guys who perform stadiums, it was just incredible. And he didn't even realize it till after. Like, he didn't swear once. There was nothing dirty that even bordered on risque. But you don't notice because it was just absolutely hysterical. Another person I saw live in Winnipeg at the Comedy Oasis Club was Gilbert Gottfried, who I wouldn't say is necessarily like one of my favorites ever, but that was one of the funniest, like eyes-watering, bent-over, nonstop, hilarious shows I've ever seen. So whether I'd have them on my lineup or not, I mean, those are some of the most amazing live shows I've ever seen. And there's a lot of acts I haven't seen live that would probably do the same for me. But
I will need an official answer though of your show.
Who I would have? Well, I'm trying to think I saw Mike Birbiglia's latest special and really enjoyed it. I haven't binge watched a lot of the comedy specials that are out there right now. Norm Macdonald is like one of my favorites, and I find started in Ottawa, as we always say when we do the Wednesday night MC, right? Ottawa's produced some great comedy. Don't just take it from me. He's one of my favorites out there. I'm trying to think sort of anyone I don't know who's brand new that's really tearing it up for you.
Like in America?
Or Canada, for that matter. I mean, that might have a special that we might at the level that they might have a special.
He's not new, but I really like Hannibal Buress right now a lot.
Okay,
I like all of his specials.
For sure. Like if I was doing a tour, I'd probably pick a bunch of my friends just because it would be really fun. And I'm assuming, Andrew, this fantasy question, it's a tour where I don't need to worry too much about selling tickets. That's going to take care of itself. So I can pick people who may not, have a million-person fan base, or
I don't know. You need somebody to sell. Like Wafik, he picked I think like Bill Burr and Sam Kinison and you were on his tour.
Wafik knows Sam's dead, right?
No, I said you could pick dead or alive.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. Who's your favorite comedian ever? That's a fun.
My favorite comedian ever.
I understand it's ever changing, but what would you say?
Yeah, I've got a lot of folks. I mean, I don't know, because now the thing is, everyone's got a pass now too. So if I say Woody Allen was one of my favorites, it's there's the guy, whatever. Suddenly it's like it's not here anymore. But I'd probably go to a lot of the common names you'd hear. One guy who I really love, and now he was old for my time.
Okay.
Was Mort Saul. I don't know if you know Mort Saul. He was a contemporary of Lenny Bruce and probably did as much to revolutionize stand-up comedy as Lenny Bruce did, but he didn't have the same battles with the censors, and so he wasn't necessarily he wasn't carrying that cross of the martyr for free speech, even though he was saying a lot of political stuff. But allow me this digression.
Yes.
He has one of my favorite jokes ever. He was very smart, tremendously smart, credited his audience with being very smart. He performed in San Francisco a lot, of course, when he toured around. One of my favorite lines ever and he didn't even do the background, but Werner von Braun, right, was a Nazi scientist who helped design the V-2 rockets that they launched at England during World War II. Now, after World War II, he was one of a bunch of Nazi scientists brought over to America to work on the space program. And they just conveniently downplayed what these people's past was. They were working on designing rockets for the space program. So all this is to say, one of my favorite jokes, Mort Saul made a comment that was true at the time, that Werner von Braun has just published his autobiography called I Aim for the Stars. And it should be subtitled, But Sometimes I Hit London.
That is funny.
It's very funny. And I love that he didn't tell his audience the whole backstory because, he credited people with knowing.
Yeah.
That, even though no one told him, this is where Werner von Braun comes from. So,
You get it.
there, you want to go down memory lane? There's one from the Wayback Machine right there.
Would you want him on your tour?
Yeah, heck yeah.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, he's great. You ever see he used to be on Letterman and all that, and still tremendously funny and witty and like I say, not like like very funny.
Right.
Laugh out loud.
I can imagine your tour. Your tour would be fun. I don't think the people you've said. I don't think you'd have there wouldn't be a lot of party buses. You know what I mean? I feel like you guys are all in bed by 9.
Well, I mean, like I say, if it was living or dead, I mean, again, there's tons of guys you'd like to have worked with, but I don't know, touring with some of the greats would be totally intimidating, right? Like now I'm going to go out and do my little dee and sing my little tunes, and you guys go out and totally rip it up,
Okay, I'll try to make the rest of these questions. How are you doing for time?
Oh, I've got a competing podcast I need to get on right away.
Is that real?
No, I'm kidding. I got some time, dude. No.
Okay.
I don't just do any podcast, Andrew. You think I do any podcast?
No, you're right. You're very hard to get. All it took was asking.
But yeah, exactly. But on a Tuesday night at 7.
Tuesday. Well, I did ask for Monday, so I guess you are a little difficult.
I got to get my rest, man. I got to get my rest.
I understand.
But I just is there anyone even watching or listening? Because I don't want to bore the people either. But I got nowhere to go,
no,
man.
I have a few questions.
I'm in lockdown.
And I don't have my Facebook open, so I'm not seeing the unfortunate thing is because I can't keep Facebook open, people are probably commenting about how handsome I am, and I can't even see that. But right before we go to the end, we'll go and see if anybody has any questions for you. Okay. Before we move on, real quickly, what do you think about somebody like Woody Allen? Do you have a hard time listening to his comedy? Do you can you separate the art from the artist? Is the idea?
Well, that's the question, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because again, I grew up listening to tons of Bill Cosby. So did a lot of people.
Yeah.
My brother actually saw Bill Cosby in Atlanta again, but before the scandal. And he said, I'm glad I saw him before that. He probably wouldn't have gone to see him after that. But it was the last kind of time you could enjoy him just as Bill Cosby comedian, It's tough. I mean, it came up, when Louis C.K. played Yuck Yucks in Toronto, too, right?
Huge.
I mean, do you, is everything now negated? I mean, John Lennon, beat up his first wife. Terrible thing. I'll still listen to the Beatles. I don't know if that makes me a bad person, but Picasso was a terrible person to women and other people around him. Tons of people around him committed suicide. So I'm not a fine art aficionado, but again, it's a good question. I mean, how do you separate the person from the art? And it's tough. And I think to some degree, you can't negate everything that came before, but maybe it's more of a going forward. If everyone knew and you still went along with it, that might be cause for a guilty conscience. If you didn't know, maybe going forward, you decide, well, I'm not going to support this person,
right.
But that's all I can do now. It's a tough question, though. You're right. I mean, it's no longer just about the art; it's the person as well.
I have a really hard time, I think, separating it. Do you ever watch pro wrestling?
I've seen it. It's
there was one of my favorite wrestlers. The day I graduated grade 8, he killed his wife and his son. And
yeah.
He killed himself, and it really warped my fragile little mind. And I could never, I can't watch any of his wrestling. And I think I'd have a hard time, even trying to listen to, the Louis C.K. specials of old. Like there, you just get I get a queasy feeling in my stomach, especially when it's anything just like, because watching his special, he seems like somebody that would do what he did, kind of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is too with the show, I think what also hurt was he seemed more, woke and progressive and a
Yeah.
good dad who was trying hard to raise his daughters right and was trying to be honest about how he felt about women. So that it kind of it doesn't make what he did any worse, but it kind of hurts you more when you think, oh, this is in all the stuff that's come out from some of the Me Too stuff. It's really, this sounds so, I don't want to trivial, like, it's a stronger word than disappointment, but there's certain people you go, oh, really? You too? Man, I thought maybe you were above that kind of, hurtful behavior. But I guess, it's good to know who those people are, but you really, like I say, there were folks who were, exposed in that, and rightly so, they should have been.
Yeah.
That was like, I wasn't that surprised by Harvey Weinstein, but Charlie Rose, like, oh man, like say similar reaction to what you were just talking about too. Like, geez, I really hoped some of these folks.
Yeah, you get this weird feeling where you're like,
living
oh,
up
you
to their
attacked
ideals.
me.
Yeah, well,
I take that back. I didn't just say that.
yeah. Who's the real victim here, right, Andrew? Anyways, well, now we're making light of it. That's
yeah.
the way you got me doing it.
I knew that's what this would turn into.
Yeah.
This is the last thing I'll say of the subject, which I just thought was kind of funny, is I have a friend in comedy. We were at Bureaucracy back in the day. Like, I think it was the last show of Bureaucracy, so it was like a real party. It was.
I did Bureaucracy. Yeah, I didn't do the last show, but that was a cool little room.
I have really fun. I didn't realize how much I liked it till it was gone, but it was like really cute, and yeah, people come out. But one of my friends, we were all hanging out, and then he just whispered to me that he's seeing Louis C.K. in Toronto. I just thought it was so funny, the shame he knew he had to bear, but that he was still spending like $80 driving to Toronto. People don't forget.
Wow.
Okay, so I have one more, I think just one more question from me, and then I had a few fan questions from
We're
the,
going to the audience, the studio audience.
we call them the Wham Boys. Trying to think of a more...
Somehow that totally works. I wouldn't change
Because
that.
no girls are fans of me, that's for sure. Okay, so this will be the last question I have, I think. So you're talking about an album. I think with Wafik, I asked, okay, you know about these... Okay, let me try to get myself together. There's all these specials on Crave TVs. Like, there's more Canadian comics getting Crave TV specials, which effectively is replacing the Comedy Now ones, I was told. So you've already done your Comedy Now, but more specifically, because you're thinking of doing an album, have you thought of like what you would title it? Like what you'd call your album?
I have, because I actually have been thinking about it. I mean, I hadn't for the longest time. I thought, I should sort of get it all down. I don't know that. See, the problem is the title that keeps coming to me doesn't necessarily reflect like the act or who I am or whatever. But I was thinking of maybe called something like "Giving It All I've Got" or "Giving Everything I Have." The point being, I'm giving all the material I've got that I think is worth recording. So I'm giving it all I've got. This is all I've got. So that title keeps coming back, whether I go with it or not. The one thing I want to avoid is any kind of cheesy, not even cheesy, even a good First Nations pun or play on words. Because I've never, I love, talking about the First Nations stuff. And of course, I'm very proud of being Ojibwe and Anishinaabe. But I went in consciously, I don't want to be a native comedian. I want to be a comedian who is native, who is First Nations and talks about that. But I never wanted to be like, I'm that guy for all your corporate needs and bookings and all that, So I never wanted to create an expectation that, come see me and you'll hear all about the First Nations experience in Canada. That's one of many things I want to talk about.
Was that like ever conflicting for you to not like kind of lean into it?
No, not really. I mean, I wanted to, the sort of approach I took to it though was, and by the way, everything I talk about in terms of my approach or the way I've broken every single rule and probably will continue in a bad way. Like I'll be cheesy or hokey or whatever when I say don't be cheesy or hokey. Yeah. But the one thing I thought was, I don't want to play up the negative stereotypes. Like I used to have bits about overdoing it with the drinking, but I never would put it right next to my native stuff or let alone anyway connect it to, because we all drink, like I didn't want to, I always thought all you're doing is reinforcing the stereotype for the guy out there who might really think it's true, and then he'll repeat the joke, and well, the Indian at the club the other night said it, so why can't I? So I'd rather play with the stereotype and play up the stereotype, and maybe I don't always do that. I don't know, but that's always my approach. I don't want to sort of like play on that. I dropped a joke about it was a tag, and you've probably seen me do the bit where the tag was about I'm just kidding, I didn't have to pay for university, I'm status Indian, something like that.
Right.
Because it started getting applause breaks, and like, I don't like that applause break, and it's not just that I want to do it just because it's got it, because that means they're thinking, yeah, there's some truth there. And I also had another like tag to it that kind of dismissed that, that's not true, but it just, that's kind of weaselly. You have to do it and stand by it.
Right. Okay.
So I kind of took that approach of something I want to talk about, but like everyone else, I got lots of other interests and thoughts than just that one thing,
Well, must be nice. I've got one thought. It's boob.
Communist two thoughts juxtaposed, Andrew. You gotta have a whole two thoughts in your head.
It's just not my style. You'll see.
I've seen it. I like it.
Thank you. Tell everyone you know. Mark Hatfield let me do the Hatfield show one Friday, and after my set, he said, "Good job," but I felt what I did. It wasn't a great job, and he was just like, "That was really good," and I was like, "Do you mean it?" He was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Could you tell Howard?" And he was like, "Oh, for sure," and I could tell you, I don't know, in my opinion, I thought he was just kind of blowing smoke up my ass, so I was just like, I tried to be physically imposing to the former CFL player, and I was like, "Could you text him? Could you tell him right now?" And he said, "Sure." So he pulled out his phone. He's like, "Oh, I'm going to text him." But then he put his phone down. I just wouldn't leave until I saw him send Howard a message saying, "I did well." Would you believe I haven't been booked
I don't know if that's imposing or needy, Andrew.
What's the difference, really? Either way, I'm open for availabilities. Anyways, we're going to get to Christian Souza. He had a lot of questions for you.
He had a lot of questions.
Did you read them? Okay, I'll try to...
I stopped, but I started looking at him.
Okay.
I love Christian.
Yes.
He's a guy, he's a lot of fun, too. I like working with Christian.
He would be great to go on a... I actually did... you know what? I went on a road trip with him, and one of them wasn't fun. I went on 2 road trips. Because normally I'm the chatty Cathy, but if there's another chatty Cathy... Okay, he had a question about your dog I'll ignore. He has a lot of questions about your dog.
Great.
What do you like about the new comics in Ottawa?
I like, first of all, like I say, I think a lot of the newer folks, anyways, a lot of the newer comics,
the kids.
Oh, man. Yeah, the kids. Again, I think there's a certain level in Ottawa that has nothing to do with, like me or Wafik, but it's more about what's happening right now. That no one, I think, is sort of looking down at anyone, but there's a certain, the bar is higher for sure. And part of that is people are coming in like with a little more knowledge, with more exposure to comedy. And so I just find, like I say, when I go to a show and I just see so many like unique things, I'm not seeing a lot of hacky stuff. Even, hacky is, what was innovative at one point is now hacky. So it's not sort of like I'm not worried about airplane food jokes. Everyone knows no one does those anymore anyways. But I mean, I'm seeing like a lot of original takes and just a lot of unique approaches and diverse approaches. Like just, it used to be, whenever a new comic would hit like Mitch Hedberg, you would immediately see 5 newer comics. Hey, welcome to Yuck Yuck. I'm now going to do 5 minutes of my act. And sort of like, and it's not really a bad thing to start by making a comic. You don't know who you are and kind of use that style, but don't do an imitation. But I'm seeing less of that. I'm just seeing a lot more different approaches to what's happening out there.
I definitely did my best impression of Hedberg for like 4 years. Did not.
Hey, when he hit, man, so many people were like, again, some of them weren't even trying to do an imitation. I would see guys who'd tour with some of Yuck's AAA headliners and come back off the road after a month. Oh, you sound like Derek Edwards. You know what I mean? It was a
Yeah.
triple A, you'd see that. Yeah.
Just if you hang out with the same comedians too much, you start to have the same thing.
You can get the rhythm and the style. I mean, sometimes you're not even conscious of it.
So I only hang out with comedians that are funnier than me, so I don't get worse.
Yeah.
Yes. What do you think is missing from new comics? Do you think like there's as a whole? I don't know. That's a tough question.
It is a tough question.
We could pass if you don't.
I guess here's the thing. This is not something missing, just something I've noticed was or is a lot of what I say on stage, probably 90% has absolutely no bearing to my real life at all, except in the sense, obviously, I thought of it, so it's there somehow. But if I talk about my grandfather and his artificial hips, both my grandparents were dead decades ago, and neither of them had hip replacements.
Right.
The shawarma joke, obviously, I don't know. That's not my approach to relationships. I mean, so, and I know some comics who say that. Like, there is very much a school. In fact, there's almost a gospel of somebody. Everything you say should be ripped from your real life and be about you and what you experienced and your feelings. And that's how you keep it honest. And the crowd can tell when you're being real and genuine. But then there's folks like me where, hey, I thought of this and I thought it was funny. Yeah. So it's not so much what it's missing, but I do notice there's a lot of comics like talking about themselves and who they are and their life, and that's fine. But I can think of other comics like Mike Timofey, where it's clearly like these are some funny jokes he thought of that he wants to just say.
Yeah, you're hoping that's about him at least.
Yeah, exactly. And again, like I say, I mean, the scary thing is he thought of that stuff. Yeah. So it's there. It's there somewhere. But I don't see him and think, oh, well, he actually must have this.
Yeah.
So, I love that. I think that a lot of the jokes are really funny. So it's not like sort of a thing as I see as a weakness or a deficiency. It's more like, I guess, a style. And every few years, Ottawa comedy sheds its skin, and you get some people dropping off, other people coming up, and sort of like, you're probably part of a group that now has another group or two behind it, and there's other people who've been around way longer. So yeah, so you see sort of waves come and go, and they don't always have a defining characteristic. You sort of see sometimes there are things there that you see are more prevalent than others.
That's I think that's a great point. I find a lot of people when they're writing new, like they're too like married to being fully honest. When it would just be some things could be funnier if you just lie a little bit. Tell a joke. You know what I mean? Tell a joke. Funny man is what my dad always says.
That's right.
Okay. Christian had so many questions. We're gonna carry on. I'll message them to you. Okay, this is from Cam Pila. Has anybody ever called you the Donk?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, they have.
Why?
Donk. About grade 4 or 5. Tell Cam, he's he's writing at that level, which I'm impressed.
Wow.
No, I'm kidding. But I did get like Donk, because Don K, right?
Yeah.
If you ever got to fill out a form. The other one, because Don Kelly. Hey, take out the 2 L's, and what do you got?
Ah, donkey.
Donkey. Good one, right? So yeah.
Yeah, great one. Really got him.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he also asked
K.
if he can start calling you the Donk.
Yes, I think I've never had a good comedy nickname. Like Lawrence Morgenstern, who's been around a long time, used to always give everyone almost like a grade 3 nickname that would rhyme with your actual name. But I've never had a good comedy name. Oh, K-Man. Howard will call me K-Man to this day.
That's not bad. That's kind of cool.
I don't mind it. I think I started calling myself that.
Oh, that's
So
less cool.
I think that's where he got it from. That's right.
K-Man sounds like a drug dealer for sure, though. Like that's where you get special
K-Man,
K.
yeah.
Okay, this
There
is
you go.
kind of a good question from Duncan. You know Duncan?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
it doesn't matter, I guess.
Mr. McQuarrie, are we talking about the
Yeah,
same?
the very same. Okay, so I'll just read it
one and only.
word for word. There's a couple actually in Ottawa comedy. You haven't been around enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so
This is the one I hate then, probably.
they're all pretty hateable. He's curious to know how you juggle having a fairly high profile job in communications while being a headliner, and if you have anything to keep comedy separate from your career. / if you're worried about like there ever being consequences from your comedy.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I'm impressed he knows that I I have a day job. That's interesting. Yeah, the one thing, well, it's kind of, I guess, lucky, but I sort of had my other life and work before I started doing comedy. Like when I came to Ottawa, I'd already been doing like work that I enjoyed and everything, and I never saw it as a gig, so that helped. And I understand when comics get a gig, like something they can leave when it's done and not have to like worry about, oh, I may have to travel, or whatever, because they just want to be able to focus on their comedy, but they want to pay their bills while they're getting going too. But I'm lucky that my day jobs have never just been gigs to me. They've actually been meaningful to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it also helped that, like I say, I went into doing comedy, like not looking to be like sort of more, I guess, really raunchy stuff. Like wasn't really anything I thought I could do very well, even though I started pretty kind of juvenile, but I knew sort of what I wanted to sort of like work at. And as well, I also started trying to work relatively clean, by which I don't mean like kid show. I don't mean like just corporate, but I didn't want to rely on cursing a lot when I started. Because of that reason, I got nothing against cursing. Like, and in fact, if you see me sort of at the club on a weekday or weekend, I don't have to worry about it. And in part, I might even like sort of gratuitously curse a bit because if I'm doing corporates, I can't, or other, festivals or shows. So it's kind of like, hey, I don't have to worry about that here. So I'm not gonna worry about it. But yeah, so I went in kind of not wanting to rely on that. So it didn't require me to sort of do tons of cleaning up. And it goes back as well what I said earlier too, the sort of work I've always done. I didn't want to go out and do all the First Nations, all the stereotype jokes and play those up. And I did know guys. I've worked with guys. I worked years ago. No one local. So it's not Greg Schroeder. It was a teacher. It's not Greg Schroeder.
Jen LaBelle. Yes, I know her.
It's not Jen. No, it's someone from Toronto. And it was years ago. I didn't even know they're still doing it. They were older than me at the time. So there you go.
Whoa.
But they were a teacher. And their act was filthy. And it was like, yeah, I got to tell my kids say I want to come see you. Like my students say they want to come see you. Like, no, you can't come see me. And I said, that's kind of terrible, And I don't know. I want to, don't want an act that you have to hide from people. So yeah. So I mean, I've just always been aware of that. I do watch, like even on social media. Like I try to watch not to do anything that would get me in trouble. But at the same time, it's not sort of like I have to filter a lot because I'm not sort of going there anyways.
You don't have like crazy weird instincts.
Yeah, well, maybe. I mean, I do jokes about school shootings and genocide. I mean, that's the other thing, right? Being not swearing doesn't mean you're doing kid show stuff,
So, I remember your genocide joke, or the school shooting joke. Remember when you did that at the art house? I remember that every day.
Yeah. No, people see I'm kind of a smiley guy,
That's why it's so funny when you swear on stage. It really seems like you're really friendly, like father or uncle. Not that you're old, but
well, I'll tell you, you can get away with stuff like I talk about people go, oh, you're like, can you do a corporate? And I can, but I mean I'm not going to do my genocide or school shooting joke. I mean that's just the rules going in, right? I mean it's not so much I think selling out. If you Aaron Frost always said so. I think it's just a man of total integrity in comedy. And he's very edgy and on the edge, and like really, he could get banned at any given show. But he says, if I take the gig, I play by the rules. Otherwise, why'd you take the gig? Don't take the gig. If you don't want to play by it, and that's your choice. So, but anyways, yeah. So I never really, feel I've got to, overly watch what I say because I'm not going there in a lot of cases either.
Cool. Okay, that is a good question.
It is a good question.
Thanks for writing in, Duncan.
Yeah, there you go.
Tavis asks, what do you think about Christian having too many questions?
I love Christian. If it weren't for him, this podcast wouldn't be on its second episode, I believe. So he's keeping this thing going.
It's all Christian. I doubt he's watching, to be honest. We'll see after.
Yeah, no, yeah, he's helping you out, I think.
Okay.
He's just being a good guy.
So this is a question from David, and he gave me some information about you that I didn't know about. David Haddad. Okay,
yeah.
So I'll just read word for word what he said. Ask him about being in a band when he was younger and if it's something he had wanted to pursue seriously, and was there a point where comedy overpowered and edged out music for him as he got more serious with that? The end.
What was the last part? You kind of broke
Oh,
up
true.
there.
Was there a point where
And
am I good?
comedy edged out music, and then
Oh,
was that it?
he's asking, was there a point like where you had to almost pick between comedy and music?
no. No, because it wasn't even close with music.
Right.
Not even close. Like I play some guitar, but not enough to play them. I can jam if you want to get together and and just sit around, have a few drinks, and I can chord a guitar. But drums is my better instrument.
Yes.
But even then, not at a level like if it ain't rock and roll, if you want to start a jazz band, I am not your guy.
Damn.
But no, it's never close. I mean, I played the one band, so I played in a lot of bands in Winnipeg when I was living there, but never got beyond not even like dingy bars. Never got beyond that, let alone the good bars. Total punk rock background, right? Sex Pistols changed my life. I was just right at that age. I was an early teen when the Sex Pistols hit. This suburban kid living in Winnipeg who felt distant and alienated, and all music at the time was terrible. So it was just perfect. It was just perfect timing. But I did play in a band in Ottawa here with Jeff Tangway.
Hey.
Rick Rock and Roll Presley used to do comedy. John Allaire, who's still performing all over, still writing, still recording CDs. And Mark was our guitarist. And we had a lot of fun, but they were basically like former like pros, So we weren't trying to hit the big time, but it was more than a side project. But put it this way, we took a break every summer. So it wasn't like we were all right. We got all the momentum. We're almost
Right.
signed up.
Okay.
June 1, time to take a break. But anyway, yeah. So I mean, that was a lot of fun, and we could actually get real bookings, like the opening for it, on a line crush, and stuff like. And probably the best thing for me opening musically was see, this is how great it was. I cannot remember the name of the group, but anyways, we had some good gigs. It was fun.
Okay, I believe you.
Oh, not a surf.
I knew I wouldn't have heard of them either way.
We opened for them. Yeah, that's right. They're good. Check them out, man.
Okay, I will. I won't.
Yeah. So it was never really close. I've comedy's done a lot. I've just done more with comedy than ever with music. But I love music, and I've always loved music. I still love music, and especially what I would say falls into the punk genre, though of course a lot of other stuff too.
Okay. We're gonna go see if there's any questions in the comments of the video. Okay. Is that okay with you?
All right. Sure.
Just getting a lot of compliments on my look.
Well, your mug's really like you're really filling the screen. I'm set back a bit here. Like you're right. You're intense.
Ask Don if he remembers doing his Earth Day joke on Earth Day, not knowing it was Earth Day. Do you remember that?
If I didn't know it was Earth Day, I probably don't remember it, but I can imagine that happening. Or was it Earth Hour? Because I don't do an Earth Day joke.
Don't shoot
I do
me, okay? Bring it up with Tavis.
It's possible whoever wrote that, it was Earth Day, but it was an Earth Hour joke. So we'll go to the fact checkers on that one.
Okay, I'll be waiting on my.
When you have me back on, we'll discuss it.
This is the last episode.
Why is every show I'm on the last episode?
No. We have a huge guest next week. I'll tell you at the end.
All right. Okay, there you go. Surprise.
Somehow bigger than Don and Wafi? Maybe.
It's Wendy. It's my wife Wendy, isn't it?
She said no. She said no immediately. I've never seen her reply so quickly. Okay, this is the only other question, and then I'll ask you one more question, then we'll let you go.
All right, thanks, man.
So you want to go? That's what I'm hearing.
No, I'm good. Hey,
it's fine. Yeah. Whatever. No, I have three
got a
sisters.
hot date.
Oh, okay. Ask him if his school shooting joke comes from personal experience. That's funny.
I said nothing I say comes from personal experience.
That'd be such a funny if somebody was to, if the blogs get a hold of this and they write a think piece about you. Don Kelly never writes from experience.
No, Nick Carter, he helped me with that joke. So it was something we were spitballing around, and I had the idea and the premise, and he helped me take it. I still think, not that I want a 10-minute bit, I'm still to this day looking at sort of what's the best way to wrap that up, and there's got to be a bigger, better way, and there's probably more to say. Again, you don't want to sort of squeeze the life out of every joke. See, some people do think like you should really write it out, and they're really good at that kind of approach to comedy of getting a long chunk out of something. I think some of the jokes, especially the ones I do, I'd rather do them and then move on, rather than there's got to be more there. And I have added to jokes, but I'm still thinking there's so no, it's not from any person's experience, short of having grown up where there weren't a lot, and suddenly you start hearing about all these things. And I read the book Columbine, which was all about one of the seminal moments in school shooting, if that makes any sense.
It's a funny way to phrase it.
But there are times where I think is there something here that that you could make this horrible thing funny. And even like sometimes I'll start into that bit, and I don't do it all the time. I'll do it a lot at side rooms and that, and I've done it on pro shows, and I'm not kidding. Like people will stare at me like, no, we're not going there. We're not following you with that all the way through. But it's just, when I start doing it, sometimes I can just see people like, oh no, you're actually talking about this, and you're going to try to get some. And what's always funny about comedy, like they don't know where you're going, right? They don't know where you're taking it. So whereas I do, and it still may not work, but I know what's coming. And it can be fun, but at the same time, like I say, I've had people just either just stare at me or like really get angry. And it's another one, you got to watch the timing. If I was Mr. Edgy Comic or Mr. I'm doing my own art, I wouldn't care about what else happened in the world when I do that joke. But I'm just aware that, you know what, I could do it and, whatever, and claim this is me standing by my stuff. But I'm also thinking, they probably don't want to hear this right now, and I don't necessarily need to say it right now.
Yeah, and it's...
Of course, it's my grandfather's hips. They're both about death. Right. At the end.
Yeah, and it's not fun to... I've only had it once where I had an offensive joke and somebody, like, talks to you about it afterwards, like a stranger.
Yeah.
Like, that's not... Like, it's something to stand by your art, but if you could just not do it, like, I don't know. I would never stand by anything I say. Especially that.
Well, I think really you should stand by everything you say.
Damn.
And you have a right to say it, but you know what? That guy who talked to you had a right to say that too. Because I find there are some people who think, well, they should not at all be able to criticize me because it's just a joke and I can say it. Well, no, you're saying you got free speech. Well, so do the people who are going to say that. I don't think people should be banned or brought before a human rights tribunal because they say that. But hey, you stand by your stuff, and that means if people have a right to tell you how they feel about it as well. And I've seen that happen too.
Yeah.
I've seen comics get hit. I saw a comic one time, way back when Yucks was on Albert Street. Wasn't going well, so he just started going at the crowd, like just being trying to be funny, but just being totally abrasive and offensive. And he picked on this guy and his date or his wife, whoever it was, right near the front. No names mentioned. He gets off stage. He got off stage. The guy he was going at with his girlfriend calmly stood up, slugged him in the head, knocked him down. He was dazed. The comic got up, ran back on stage, said, "Did you see what happened? Did you see what that guy just did? Did I deserve that?" And the whole crowd was kind of like, well,
What year was this?
This would have been back late 90s, maybe 2000, 2001. And the MC, to his credit, Pro, went up and said, "You know what, folks, we're going to take a little break." Oh, and the guy who punched, the guy who swung, who hit the comic, just stood there calmly, got escorted out by the door, said, knowing, I know I got to go now. That was worth it. And it was so funny because the crowd was not on the comedian side at all.
There were no charges against the guy afterwards?
No, it just ended like that.
That's kind of cool. I think there's a very similar story with Jamie Villeneuve that I thought you were talking about.
No. This was a long time ago.
Okay, this will be my last question, and it's going to be a doozy, okay? Are you ready?
All right.
Okay. So, if you're called to do one of those Crave TV specials, okay? You're a superstar, let's say HBO. What do you choose for your intro song? That's what I'd like to know. Like as you walk on stage in the beginning of the special.
For my intro song, a couple options come to mind. Mm-hmm. I wonder if it's not a contemporary song,
Well,
I think I Apologize by Husker Du would make a great intro song. Because when you're thinking of an intro song, we do this at the roasts, right? People always think, what's a good song, like with a good chorus, forgetting sometimes the song starts with boom, boom, or some kind of like you're only looking at the first 30 seconds, right? At most, probably more like the first 15 seconds. So some of these songs will start with like a little organ hum or a chant. They don't kick in right away. You need something that kicks in right away because you're only going to hear a bit. So, and thematically, maybe I Apologize is also a not a bad tune for me.
Right.
But Husker Du, let's cue up the intro of that song after we log off.
I will. And I'll think of my
It's got a good 15 seconds. There's probably others, but yeah, what would you do for yours?
I'm asking the questions here.
Okay.
I'm kidding. I have. I don't really have any idea. I'd like.
Maybe maybe like the theme from Schindler's List.
I've never seen it. Is it a comedy? Okay, that's about it. for
You'll
us.
love it.
Yes. Okay. So.
Yes, that's where you want to end.
That's
where you wanna
Schindler's
wrap
List.
it up.
Funny hit. What would you call your fans? I just want to address your people.
What would I call my fans?
Your donkeys?
The donkeys. Yeah,
Or-
the donkeys.
Is there a name for a baby donkey?
Uh,
No. This is turning into a weird quiz.
I don't know.
take it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
The K something, the K people. That's pretty lame,
K
eh?
people. It
Yeah.
sounds racist again. I think the K is like the most racist of the letters. Anyways, anything you want to say to your followers before we say goodnight?
I drink the Kool-Aid, followers.
Drink the
Now's the
Kool-Aid.
time. You've seen all you need to see now that you watched Andrew Wombolt's podcast.
Struggle. Okay. Tune in next
I
Tuesday.
have no followers.
Oh wait, I'm doing my promo for next week now.
All right.
I need complete silence. Thank you. Tune in next Monday, 4 p.m. our time, where I'll be interviewing Jeremy Hotz. What?
Hey, no way.
Yeah, I'm hoping to make him less miserable. Get it?
Well, good luck with that. Good luck with that. He's one of the Wednesday night intro names.
I know, when you said
Ottawa's
it,
produced some fine talent.
Yeah, I'm going after all the Ottawa superstars.
There you go. We worked together. There you go. I'm dropping names.
There you go. Finally, you dropped some names. Anyways, thanks for talking to me. Tell Wendy I miss her. She'll know what I mean.
I will say hi to your mom for me.
I wish I could.
I know. No, I'm serious. Yeah,
Okay.
in your prayers.
I will. Goodbye. Love
Hey,
you.
thanks for having me, Matt. Take care.
You too.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Keep those cards and letters coming. All right. Signing off.
Okay, signing off.